5 Go Down to the Sea by Enid Blyton. The famous 5, Julian, Dick, Anne and George, with Timmy, George's dog, were on their way to Kirrin station to catch the train, bicycles and all. Their luggage had gone on in advance, and they thought they had plenty of time to ride to the station, get their bicycles labelled and put in the luggage van, then catch the train comfortably. Suddenly, Dick let out a yell.
Blow! I've got a puncture! My tyre's going flat! You've just got time to pump it up and hope for the best. We've got 7 minutes before the train goes. OK, Julian.
We can't miss the train.
We can, George. Easiest thing in the world. What do you say, Timmy?
Done it! Seems all right. Hope it will last till we get to the station. I was afraid you'd have to go without me.
Oh, no. We'd have caught the next train. Come on, let's go, quickly.
Right, Anne. Race you!
Nearly there. Look, the signal's gone up. The train's due.
Oh, we've made it. Here's the porter.
Hello, you lot. I sent your luggage off for you.
Can you label our bikes quickly for us? I see the train is due.
I will that. You going off to Cornwall, I see. And Tremanan too. You want to be careful of bathing there. There's a fierce coast and a hungry sea.
Oh, do you know it? Is it a nice place?
Nice? Well, I don't know about that. I used to go out in my uncle's fishing boat all round there, and it's wild and lonely. Not much of a place for holiday. No pier, no concert parties, no cinemas, no nothing.
Good. We can do without all those. We mean to bathe, hire a boat and fish and bike all round. That's our kind of holiday.
Yes, and yours too, Timmy. Come on, we better get into a carriage.
I'll see to your bikes. Have a good holiday, and if you see my uncle, tell him you know me. His name's same as mine, John Paul Penny.
By tree, pole and pen, you may know the Cornish men. Thanks, John. We'll look up your uncle if we can.
They each took a corner seat and settled down for the journey. Anne announced that she was determined they wouldn't have any adventures this time. Just a holiday, nothing more. The others weren't so certain, but they didn't argue. The journey was a long one, but at last the train arrived at their station, Polwillie Holt. They got off, collected their bikes, and set off along the narrow lane to Tremanan Farm. As they cycled through the open gates at 5 o'clock, a fusillade of barks greeted them, and 4 dogs came flying to meet them. Timmy put up his hackles at once and growled warningly. A woman came out behind the dogs. Her face was one large smile.
Now, Ben. Now, Bouncer. Here, Nelly, here. Bad dog, Willie. It's all right, children. That's just their way of saying, welcome to Tremanan Farm.
This is Timmy. He's very friendly. And look, now they're all wagging their tails.
Yes, they've introduced themselves to one another. Now come with me. You must be tired and dirty. I've a high tea waiting for you. Follow me upstairs and I'll show you to your rooms. This is your room, girls. And boys, that's yours.
Oh, thank you. This is nice. And such a lovely view.
Thank you, Mrs Penruthlan. This'll suit us fine, won't it, Dick?
It certainly will.
Good. There's the bathroom if you'd like a wash. Now I'll just pop down and put the kettle on. Come down as soon as you like.
We must bike to the sea as soon as we can. There are caves on this coast. We'll explore them. I wonder if Mrs Penruthlan would give us picnic lunches. so that we can go off for the day whenever we want to.
Sure to. She's a pet. I've never felt so welcome in my life. Are we all ready? Come on down then. I'm beginning to feel very empty indeed.
The high tea that awaited them was truly magnificent. A huge ham and a salad fit for a king. The children were tucking in when footsteps were heard outside the room. The door opened and the farmer himself came in. The children stared at him in awe. He was a strange and magnificent figure of a man, tall, well over 6 feet, broadly built and extremely dark. His mane of hair was black and curly. His hands were enormous and covered with hair so thick and black it was like fur.
This is Mr. Penruthlan.
Hello, sir.
Well, Mr. Penruthlan, and how's the cow getting along?
Well, you are.
Oh, I'm glad she's all right. And is the calf a dear little thing? And what's the colour?
You are.
Red and white like its mother. What shall we call it?
Hawk.
Yes! Well, call it Buttercup then. You always have such good ideas, Mr. Penruthlan.
You are, yeah.
What's this paper then, Mr. Penruthlan? Shall I read it out? Now, here's a bit of excitement. The Barneys will be along this week. You'll love them.
What are the Barneys?
They're travelling players that wander round the countryside and play an act in our big barns.
Oh, you call them Barneys because they use your barns for their shows. Yes, we shall love to see them. Will they play in your barn?
Yes. We'll have all the village here when the Barneys come. Now there's a treat for you.
You are. You see.
He says you'll like Clopper the horse. The things he does. The way he sits down and crosses his legs. Well, you wait and see. That horse.
After their wonderful high tea, the 4 children didn't feel like doing very much. Dick thought he ought to mend his puncture, and Julian went outside with him. Mrs. Penruthlan began to stack the dishes and clear away. George and Anne offered to help her.
Well, that's kind of you, Anne and Georgina. But you're tired tonight. You can give me a hand some other time. By the way, which of you is which?
Oh, I'm Anne.
And I'm George, not Georgina, so please don't call me that. I always wanted to be a boy, so I only like to be called George.
She won't answer unless you do call her George. Well, we'll go out with the boys.
That's that. Puncture mended.
Good. There comes Mr. Penruthlan. Just look at that huge load of straw he's carrying.
Why doesn't he talk properly?
Mrs. P seems to understand him.
She said she had 7 children. I suppose they're all as talkative as her. And he never got a chance to get a word in. Ah, here come the girls.
With a little urchin following them.
Who's this you've brought with you?
I don't know. He suddenly appeared behind us and won't go away.
Hey you! Who are you? What's your name?
Jan.
Jan. That's a funny name.
It probably means Jan.
All right, Jan, you can go now.
I want to stay.
Well, you can't. We don't want to be followed everywhere. Go away. Run off. Vamoose, bunk, scoot.
Is Jan bothering you? He's as full of curiosity as a cat. Go home, Jan. Take this packet of food to your old granddad, and here's some for you.
He's shot off like a rabbit.
Who is he?
He's a poor little thing. He's got no kith or kin except for his old great-granddad, and there's more than 80 years between them. The old man is our shepherd. He's got a hut on the other side of that hill, and the boy lives with him.
Does he go to school?
No, he plays truant nearly all the time. You ought to go and talk to his old great-granddad. His father was one of the wreckers on this coast, and he can tell you some strange stories about those dreadful days.
I'd forgotten that this Cornish coast was the haunt of the wreckers. They shone false lights to bring ships closer into shore, so that they would be smashed to pieces on the rocks, didn't they?
Yes, and then they robbed the poor groaning ship when she was helpless. And it said they paid no heed to drowning folk either. Those were wicked days.
The first 3 days at Tremannan Farm were lazy, uneventful, full of sunshine, good food, dogs, and of little Jan. He really was a perfect nuisance. The 4 children seemed to have a fascination for him, and he trailed them everywhere.
What's the use of telling him to go? He disappears behind one hedge and appears out of another.
What I can't understand is why Timmy puts up with him.
Well, I'm going to find his great-granddad tomorrow and tell him to keep Jan with him. Oh no, there he is again.
Timmy is certainly pleased to see him.
Timmy, come here. You ought to chase Jan away, not encourage him.
He can't be a bad kid, though, because Timmy likes him so much. Timmy never likes anyone horrid.
Well, he's made a mistake this time.
Let's go down to the sea and bathe. We'll go on our bikes, and then Jan won't be able to pop up and watch us.
They took their bicycles and rode off to the coast with a picnic Mrs. Penruthlan made for them. The narrow lane wound down between 2 high rocky cliffs to the sea, and in front of them was a cove into which raced enormous breakers. After leaving their bikes at the top of the cove and changing into their bathing things, they walked a little way round the cliffs and came to a great pool lying in a rock hollow. The 4 of them swam to their heart's content. They picnicked on the rocks and then went to explore round the foot of the cliffs.
I suppose when the tide's in, all these coves are shoulder high in water.
Yes, no wonder Mrs. Penruthlan warned us about the tides here. I wouldn't want to try and climb up these cliffs if we were caught.
Well, I'm blessed. Look, peeping from behind that rock. The wretched Jan.
He must have run all the way here and found us. Well, we'll leave him here. It's time we went.
Do you think he knows about the tide? It's coming in and might catch him.
Of course he knows. But we'll wait and have our tea at the top part of the cove if you like. That's the only way back, if he wants to escape the tide.
By the time they had finished eating, Jan had not appeared. Dick and Julian went down to the cove, but there was no sign of him. The children cycled back to the farm and told Mrs. Penruthlan of their concern. She laughed and told them not to worry. Jan knew how to look after himself. Greatly relieved, George suddenly spoke.
Look, do you see what I see?
It's Jan. Jan, have a barley sugar.
Thanks. How did you get away from the beach this afternoon?
I came the Wrecker's way. My granddad showed me. You should come and see my granddad. He'll tell you many things.
The Wrecker's Way. Yes, we'll visit him tomorrow afternoon.
I'll go and tell him.
He doesn't seem such a bad kid after all. The secret of the Wrecker's Way sounds interesting.
It might even lead to an adventure. Cheer up, Anne. I can't even smell an adventure in Tremannan.
I think you're wrong. I can smell one. I don't want to, but I can.
The next day was Sunday, and after lunch Jan arrived to take the children to see his great-granddad. Mrs. Penruthlan packed a big basket of food for them to take, and Jan proudly led the way on the long walk over the fields to the cone-shaped hill. The old shepherd was sitting outside his hut, smoking a clay pipe. He had Jan's sudden smile, and the children liked him immediately.
You're welcome. Jan told me about you.
We've brought our tea to share with you.
Is it true your father was one of the wreckers in the old days?
Aye, it is. You seen the rocks down on Tremannan coast? Oh, wicked rocks they are, hungry for ships and men. Many a ship has been wrecked on purpose.
How did they get wrecked on purpose?
Oh, way back up the coast, more than 100 years ago, there was a light set up to guide the ships that sail round here. They were to sail towards that light, and then hug the coast and avoid the rocks that stood out to sea. They were safe then. But on wild nights, a light was set up 2 miles further down the coast to bemuse the lost ships and drag them onto the rocks round Tremannan coves.
How wicked!
How could men do that?
Oh, it's amazing what men will do. Take my old dad now, a kind man he was, and went to church. but he was the one that set the false light burning every time, and sent men to watch the ship crashing over the rocks and breaking into pieces.
Did you ever see a ship crashing to its death?
Aye, I did. I was sent to the cove with the men and had to hold a lantern when the ship came on the rocks, and next day to help collect the goods that was scattered round the cove. There were lots drowned that night, and...
Where did they flash the light from?
I'll show you where my dad flashed it from. It's not far. Come on, follow me.
Right.
Now, there's only one place on these hills where you could see the light flashing. The wreckers had to find somewhere well hidden so that their wicked light could be seen from inland.
Or the police would have seen it, I suppose, and put a stop to it.
That's right. Now, here we are. Now, look, between those two hills, see that house?
Yes, I can.
And the tower rising up from it?
Yes.
That's where the light was set.
You only have to move a few steps left or right, and you can't see it.
I was the only one who ever knew the false light could be seen from inland.
Did you often see the light flashing over there when you watched the sheep?
Oh, yes, many a time. And always on wild, stormy nights, when ships were looking for some light to guide them into shore. Then a light would flare out over there, and I'd say to myself, "Now may the good God help those sailors tonight, for it's sure nobody else will."
How horrible! You must be glad that you never see that false light shining there on stormy nights now.
Young man, that light still flares on dark and stormy nights. The place is a ruin, but 3 times this year I've seen that light. Come another stormy night, it'll flare again. I know it in my bones.
But surely there are no wrecks on this coast now?
No, there's not been a wreck along this coast for more years than I can remember. But I tell you, that light flares up just as it used to. I seen it with my own eyes.
I've seen it too.
You hold your tongue. You never seen the light.
I've seen it.
Grandad, do you know anything about Wrecker's Way? Is it a secret way down to the coves from inland?
That's a secret. My dad showed it to me, and I swore I would never tell.
But Jan said you taught him the way.
Jan? That boy? He doesn't know anything about Wrecker's Way. I'm the last one left who knows of it. Jan? He's dreaming.
Oh. Who could possibly flash that light? Are you sure it wasn't lightning you saw on a dark and stormy night?
It wasn't lightning. I first saw that light near 90 years ago, and I tell you, I saw it again 3 times this year. Same place, same light, same weather. And if you told me it wasn't flashed by mortal hands, I'd believe you.
There was silence after this extraordinary statement. They all went back to the hut and shared the food. Then the children thanked the old shepherd for a most interesting afternoon and said goodbye. As they walked slowly back to the farm, they chatted about the stories the old man had told them.
Well, what do you think he meant when he talked about the light still flashing in the tower? Was it true, do you suppose?
There's only one way to find out. Wait for a stormy night and go and see.
But what about our agreement? No adventures.
We ought to keep to the agreement, but I know no one else thinks so.
Hey, look! All those horses and old-fashioned carts coming along the road. Who are these people?
They're dressed pretty old-fashioned, too.
It's the Barneys, the strolling players. See, it's painted on the side of the biggest cart.
You're right, Anne.
This'll be fun. Hello? Will you be playing at Tremallen Farm?
To be sure, we always play there. Are you staying there?
Yes. We'll look out for you.
Good. They look a merry lot.
All but the man driving the front cart. He looked pretty grim, I thought.
He was probably the owner of the Barneys and has got all the worries on his shoulders.
As the children walked into the farmyard, Mr. Penruthlan came by. He grunted at them and went into a barn. Anne whispered that she could imagine the farmer being a wrecker, and Dick agreed. Mr. Penruthlan looked so fierce and determined, almost ruthless. The shepherd's story about the light intrigued them all. They couldn't make up their minds whether it was true or not, but decided there was only one way to find out. They would go and explore the ruined tower. The sun suddenly went in. Black clouds appeared. There was a storm coming. The storm arrived about an hour later. The thunder crashed and rumbled and lightning flashed. Then down came the rain. How it poured!
Julian, is it possible to go and see if the light flashes tonight?
Of course not. We'd be drenched.
All right. Anyway, I don't feel quite such an urge to go now that it's so pitch dark.
Just as well. Come on, Dick. The Penruthlans won't go to bed till we do. Let's all turn in.
Right. Good night, Mrs. Penruthlan. Mr. Penruthlan.
Good night, children. Mr. Penruthlan may have to get up in the night to see to Jenny the horse, just in case you hear a noise.
Okay, good night.
Good night, you two.
Good night.
Sleep well.
It's really hot and sticky in this storm.
Yes. Thank goodness it seems to be passing over.
Dick, it's stopped raining. Let's go and see if that light is flashing tonight.
Right. It would be great to get some fresh air anyway.
Got your torch?
Yes.
Come on then, quiet as we can. I'll use my torch.
Shh! You'll wake the dogs.
Let's go out by the back door. This way.
Ah, a nice cool breeze. Now, do we go through the farmyard?
That's the shortest way to the stile, I think. That's Jenny, the horse that's not well. Let's have a look at her and see if she's all right.
She looks fine to me, munching away. That's good.
Let's go on.
Julian, did you hear that?
No, what?
It sounded like a cough.
Probably a sheep.
No, it wasn't a sheep.
You imagined it.
Julian, there's somebody a good way in front of us. The flash of lightning lit him up. He was climbing over the stile to the lane we're making for.
Well, if we saw him, he's quite likely to have seen us.
Not unless he was looking backwards. Come on, let's see where he's going. Here's the stile. I'll go first. Ouch! Let go of me! Take that! This hedge will do. Thank goodness he didn't spot me.
Dick! Dick!
Julian, I'm here.
Are you all right?
He's gone up the lane. He nearly wrenched my shoulder off. I gave him a good kick. Who was it? Did you see?
No, I didn't.
I dropped my torch by the stile when he grabbed me. Let's go and find it. It should be somewhere here.
We'll have to feel around for it. I daren't switch my torch on.
I've got it! There's that cough again.
Quick, hide. We'll follow this chap to see where he goes.
Yes, good idea.
The man came up to the stile and climbed over. Cautiously the boys followed him across the fields. To their surprise, he went to the farm across the yard, and in through the front door of the house. It was Mr. Penruthlan. The boys went quietly in by the back door, crept up to their room, and heaved great sighs of relief as they shut the door behind them. The two boys looked curiously at Mr. Penruthlan the next morning. It seemed strange to think of their adventure with him the night before, and he didn't even know it was them he was trying to catch. The farmer finished his cup of tea and went out. Mrs. Penruthlan told them he'd had a bad night and had spent 2 hours sitting up with Jenny, the sick horse. Julian and Dick looked at each other, but said nothing. After breakfast, the 4 children went out to pick plums and berries for a fruit salad, and the boys told the girls about the night before.
told us you were going.
I always thought Mr. Penruthlan looked sort of sinister. I'm sure he's up to no good.
It's a pity. His wife is so nice.
Oh, there's Jan.
I saw the light last night.
You don't mean the light that flashes in the old tower?
Yes, a big light, like a fire.
Did your granddad see it?
Yes.
What time was this?
Don't know. Can't tell the time.
Blow, we missed it.
Well, we'll go tonight and watch for it.
I'll come too.
No, you won't.
Oh no, it's starting to rain. Come on, let's go in.
Here's the fruit, Mrs. Penruthlan.
Thank you, dears. I've just heard the barn is our barn for tomorrow night. Would you like to help get the barn ready?
You bet.
They're on their way over now.
Come on, we'll go and meet them.
Thank goodness the barn's so close.
At least it's dry in here.
Here are the Barneys now.
Well, hello, children. Are you come to help us?
Yes. What's that you're carrying? Oh, is that Clopper, the horse's head?
That's right. Well, I'm in charge of it. Never let it out of his sight. It's the governor's orders.
Who's the governor? The grim-looking man over there?
That's him. Well, what do you think of my horse?
It's beautifully made.
It can open and shut its mouth and its eyes. Do you see that?
It's wonderful.
I'm only the hind legs. But I work the tail too. Mr. Binks over there, he's the front legs. Oh, by the way, my name's Sid. What's yours?
I'm Julian, and this is Dick.
Can we see you and Mr. Binks practicing?
I think we can manage that. Here, Binks! Better practice for Clopper wanted. You get the legs.
Binks and Sid clothed themselves in the horse's canvas skin and legs, and somebody came and zipped up the two halves. Clopper looked a lively, comical beast. It marched left, right, left, right. It did a little tap dance with its front feet, which then remained perfectly still, while the back feet did the same little tap dance. The children and the whole company watched, and even the grim-faced governor had to smile. It was a mad, happy morning, for the Barneys were full of jokes and laughter. The children felt quite sorry when Mrs. Penruthlan called them into lunch. By the end of the day, the big barn was quite transformed. A stage had been set up, and a backcloth, painted with a country scene, had been hung over the wooden wall at the back of the stage. They had a late high tea that evening, and a little while after it was finished and cleared up, Mrs. Penruthlan suggested they all had an early night. When the two boys went up to their room, Julian looked out of the window.
It's certainly stormy out there. A good night for wreckers, if there were any nowadays.
When shall we go and look for the light, Julian?
We can go now, I think. It's dark enough and getting late. Come on.
Right. Quietly does it.
We'll go out of the back door again.
Walking into this wind is hard work.
At least it'll blow us home when we come back.
Ah, here's the style. No Mr. Penruthlan tonight. Thank goodness.
Now, the hut's in that direction.
I can hear the odd sheep barring. We must be getting close.
Yes, there's the hut. You can just see its dark outline. We must go quietly now.
There's no light in it. Grandad and Jan must be fast asleep.
Now we've got to find exactly the right spot to see the tower. What do you think? Is this the right line?
I'm not quite sure. I think we should go over that way.
Dick, who's that? I saw someone there. Who is it?
It's me, Jan.
Good gracious, you turn up everywhere. I suppose you were watching out for us.
Yes. Come with me.
Hey, not quite so fast.
There. There's the light.
I see it. It seems to be some kind of signal. Flash, 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 flash. Flash, flash, flash. How weird. Who's doing it and why? Surely there are no wreckers nowadays.
My granddad says it's his old dad.
That's silly. All the same, it's a bit of a mystery.
Well, We shall hear tomorrow if there's been a wreck. But surely there aren't any wreckers here now.
If there are, they'll be creeping down the Wrecker's Way, wherever it is, and watching for the ship to crash to pieces. Then they'll collect the booty.
Shut up, Julian. Don't talk like that. Now what are we going to do about that light?
We're going to find that tower and see what's going on, as soon as ever we can too. Maybe tomorrow.
I'm glad you found us, Jan. Thanks for your help. When we go to explore the old tower, would you like to show us the way to it?
No, I'm frightened of that tower now.
All right, Jan, you needn't come. It is pretty peculiar, I must admit. Now off you go, back to your hut.
Jan shot off in the dark like a scared rabbit. The boys made their way home, not very cautiously, for they felt sure they were the only people out that night. But when they came to the farmyard, they saw something that made them stop suddenly.
There's a light in the big barn. It's somebody with a torch, flashing it on and off. Who is it?
One of the Barneys, perhaps. They're sleeping in the sheds nearby. Let's go and see.
Here we are. The door's open a crack.
Look at that, where the clothes are hanging up. Somebody's going through the pockets. A thief.
Blow! He switched the torch off. Did you see who it was?
No. Just a sec. Yes, he switched the torch on again. He's going through the drawers in that chest. Look, that hand covered in black hairs.
Mr. Penruthlan! What's he doing? He must be mad, walking about at night on the hills, stealing into the barn, going through pockets, looking in drawers of that chest.
He's weird. Come on, I really don't want to spot him taking something. It would be so awkward if we had to say we saw him stealing.
You're right. Thank goodness the back door's still unlocked.
Let's wake the girls and tell them. I can't wait till the morning.
Right.
Hey, Anne, George, we've got some news.
Come in. What's up?
We saw the light flashing from the old tower.
So it was true what old Grandad said then. Julian, you don't think we'll hear of a wreck tomorrow, do you? I couldn't bear it.
Nor could I.
We saw something else too. Mr. Penruthlan was in the big barn, going through the pockets of the Barney's clothes.
What? Surely not. Whatever for?
No idea. Anyway, we must explore that tower as soon as possible.
We can't go tomorrow. The Barneys will be here, and we've promised to help Mrs. Penruthlan.
It'll have to be the next day then. See you in the morning. Good night.
The boys stole back to their room and were soon fast asleep, tired out with their long walk over the hills. Next day was so busy that it was quite difficult to find time to remember the night's happenings. They were reminded of it by one thing, though. Mrs. Penruthlan said how well she had slept. Mr. Penruthlan, too. He'd told her he never moved all night. The five spent a very busy day helping to get things ready. Their last task was to help Mrs. Penruthlan carry masses of delicious food to the table for the supper after the show. The show was a great success, although it could not have been simpler. As for Clopper, it was his evening. Julian and Dick watched him fascinated.
Just look at Clopper marching up and down to the music.
Sid and Binks are very good, aren't they? Gosh, I wish we could get hold of the legs and head and do the act at the Christmas school concert. Let's ask Sid if we can have a shot sometime.
He won't lend us the head. Still, we could just try the legs.
That's the end of the show. I really enjoyed it.
Me too. Come on, let's go and have supper. All the Barneys will be there. We can ask Sid then.
Look, there's Sid.
Hello, Sid. Where's the governor?
The governor? Oh, he's sitting in solitary state in the barn. He'll be having a tray of food, all on his own.
Where's Clopper? The horse's head, I mean. Is it under the table?
Oh, no, the governor's got it tonight. Said he wasn't going to have the jelly or the gravy dropped all over it.
Look, Julian. Mrs Penruthlan's getting a tray ready.
Mrs Penruthlan, is that for the governor? Shall I take it for you?
Oh, thank you, Julian. And Dick can take a bottle and glass for him.
Right. Come on, Dick. Funny, there's no one in the barn.
Look, there's a note pinned on the curtain.
Back in an hour, gone for a walk. The governor.
We'll just leave the tray then.
Oh, look, Dick.
Clopper's front and back legs. Shall we?
Have a go? Yes. Come on. You be the back legs and I'll be the front ones. Quick.
Right. I've got my legs on. Let me get behind you and we'll do the zip up.
There. Pity we can't find the head.
I saw something large hidden under a shawl on a chair before I zipped up in here.
Let's go and look. Ready? Keep in step. You're right, Dick, it is the head. I'll just feel inside to see how the eyes and mouth work. There's a sort of lid inside the neck. Oh, blow, cigarettes all over the place. Mr. Binks must hide them in the secret compartment. Bend your knees so that I can pick them up.
Do hurry up!
Right, I've got the head on. There are eye holes in the neck. That's how Binks sees where he's going. Now, I'll count 1, 2, 1, 2, and we'll walk in time.
I say, what's that noise?
Someone's coming in. It's the governor coming back. Quick, gallop out of the door before we're caught.
Oi!
I can't see where I'm going. Oh, thank goodness, it's an empty stable. Quick, let's unzip ourselves. And you'll have to take this head off for me.
I can't move the zip. You have a try.
Oh no, it's stuck. Now what do we do?
We'll have to get help.
Let's go and scout round the kitchen. I'll try and look through the window. Oh, blow it, I've banged the head on the window.
A horse! Mr. Penruthlan, one of the horses is loose. It looked through the window.
The farmer went out at once. Desperately, the horse tried to gallop away, but the back legs and front legs didn't gallop together, got entangled, and down went the horse. The farmer ran up in alarm, thinking his horse had fallen. When he reached it, he was astounded to hear human voices coming from it. Then he realized what was happening. It was the stage horse with 2 people in it, who sounded like Julian and Dick. The farmer let out a terrific guffaw, bent down and undid the zip.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Penruthlan. We were just having a canter around.
Oh, did you catch him?
I suppose he meant he was going back to his supper.
Come on, Dick. Let's put the horse back in the big barn. Quiet as we can.
I can see the governor walking up and down. Wait a sec. Right, he's at the far end. Now, shove it in.
Good. That's it. He didn't hear us.
Now back to the kitchen. And some supper.
Julian, Dick, what have you been doing? Don't you want anything to eat?
Yes, we do want something to eat. I'm starving.
Starving. Oh, yeah.
What's that, Mr. Penruthlan? Oh, they've been helping you catch the horse that peeped in at the window, have they? Which horse was it?
Was it going? Clobber!
It had been a wonderful evening. The children helped to clear away the dishes, then they all went to bed and were soon asleep. Next day was fair and warm. Mrs. Penruthlan suggested that she make them up a picnic and that they should go off for the day. Nothing could be better. Julian had already planned to make his way to the old tower, once used by the wreckers. They set off together happily, with Timmy at their heels. They'd gone quite a long way when George groaned.
Look, Julian, there's Jan coming.
Hello, Jan. Buzz off today. We're going somewhere alone.
I'm coming too.
No, you don't come too.
Can't I come too, Anne?
No, not today. Take this sweet, Jan, and go away.
Oh! Let me have another look at the map before we go on.
Look, there are two hills side by side. I believe they are the hills between which we saw the tower.
Yes, you're right. We're nearly there.
This seems to be the start of a lane. Very overgrown. Let's try it.
Here's the end. Look, the tower.
It's in ruins. And the house too.
Come on in. There's a stone stairway going up to the tower. And look here. What's this on each stair?
Oil. Somebody's been carrying oil up in a can or lamp and has spilt it. We'd better be careful. That somebody may still be here.
Let's go up. I'll go first.
The tower was built at one end of the old house. The only entry to it was by a doorway inside the house. In the tower was a stone spiral stairway. When the children reached the top, they gasped. The view over the sea was astonishing. Near the coast, the breaking waves and spray showed the hidden rocks that waited for unwary ships.
You can see what a wonderful place this is for flashing a light over the sea.
A light that guided them straight onto those great rocks. Are those the rocks near the coves we went to the other day?
Yes, I think so.
The ships must have been wrecked on the rocks down there. But how did the wreckers get there?
The Wreckers' Way, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I imagine that Wreckers' Way must have led to the sea from inland somewhere, a way for villagers to use. The people who lived here flashed their false light to a ship, and when it crashed onto the rocks, they gave a signal to the watcher on the hills.
How horrible!
Old Grandad's father probably lived in this very house and lit the lamp on stormy nights.
Well, somebody else lights it now. Somebody who can't be up to any good either.
Look, there's an oily patch on this wall, facing the sea.
And another on this side, facing the hill.
I wonder who it could be.
Could it be Mr. Penruthlan, do you suppose?
No, he's the watcher on the hills. That's why he goes out on wild nights to see if there's a signal from the tower.
What's the point of it if there are no wrecks now?
Smuggling. Probably by motorboat. They choose a stormy night when they're neither seen nor heard, wait for the signalling light to show them all's clear, and then come into one of the coves.
Yes, and I bet the Wreckers' secret way is used by someone who steals down to the cove and takes the smuggled goods.
It's ingenious.
But what puzzles me is how does the man with the lamp get here? We didn't see any trodden down weeds.
There must be some other way into this old house.
Of course there is. He must come up some passage from the cove. But where is it?
Well, it's not in the tower.
Let's go down.
Right, you first.
Oh, Anne, why have you stopped?
I heard a noise down there.
What sort of noise did you hear?
A sort of scuffling noise.
Let's wait a moment and listen hard.
No sound to be heard now. It must have been a rabbit.
Perhaps it was. Well, what shall we do now?
I'll go down with Timmy. Here goes.
Julian paused on the last step of the spiral staircase and listened. Not a sound came from the nearby room. He called out sharply, "Anyone there?" Still not a sound. Julian stepped right into the room and looked round. Nobody was there. The old house only had 4 rooms, and Julian and Timmy searched them all. Every one of them was empty.
Well, Timmy, it's a false alarm. Dig! Bring the girls down. There doesn't seem to be anyone here.
Coming!
I'm sorry I gave you all a shock, but it did sound like somebody down here. However, Timmy didn't seem at all disturbed.
What do we do next?
Let's see if we can find the entrance to the secret passage. We'll take 1 room each.
Nothing in here.
I can't see anything like a door.
I can't find a thing.
Come back. I've got an idea. We'll make Timmy find the entrance.
How?
We'll make him smell the oil drips on the steps and follow with his nose any others that have dripped down here. The lamp must have dripped from the passage entrance to the top of the tower.
All right. Here, Timmy. Sniff it and follow.
Look, he's going towards that big room.
Good old Timmy. Where now?
He stopped by the hearth.
He says the trail ends here. So the entrance to the secret passage must be in this big fireplace.
Let me have a look in there with my torch. Hello? What's this? I believe we found it. There's a smallish hole on one side, big enough to crawl through.
We shall get absolutely filthy.
Who cares? This could be very important.
Rather. If we're on to what we think we are, smuggling with a big S, it is important. Come on.
What about letting Timmy go first?
Good idea. Here, boy, in you go. I'll go next. The rest of you follow.
We're all in, Julian. Move on.
Right. Stop, everyone. There's a hole here, like a well. It's got iron hand grips on one side. I'll go down. It's quite easy, like going down a ladder. I'm at the bottom, and I've found the passage. Come on down.
We're coming!
Watch yourself, George.
You stepped on my hand!
Oh, sorry. This is hard.
Where's Timmy? He must have fallen down and hurt himself.
We'll soon come across him, I expect. This way. It's getting wider. Look, we're in a cave.
I wish we could find Timmy.
We will.
Listen! I can hear Timmy. This way. Timmy! Here, Timmy!
Look, a door! And a jolly stout one, too.
Timmy's behind it. He must have gone in and it's shut behind him. Timmy, we're here. I'll open the door. done?
Look at all those crates and things.
The door! I can't open it. Somebody's locked it. Hey, let us out! Let us out!
You came at an awkward time, that's all. And you must remain where you are until tomorrow.
Who are you? How dare you lock us in like this?
You must pay the penalty for being inquisitive.
Let us out! No use. He's gone. He must have been watching us from somewhere. Probably followed us all the way to the old house. It must have been him you heard, Anne.
Well, what do we do now?
What can we do?
I've no doubt that Mrs Penruthlan will raise the alarm, and a search party will set out to find us.
What a hope they'll have. They won't know the entrance to the secret passage.
Oh, dear.
Well, let's have some food.
They had a very good meal. Then they examined the boxes and crates. Some were very old. All were empty. They couldn't find anything of real interest. Julian examined the cave from top to bottom to see if there was any possible way of escape, but there wasn't. To pass the time, they spent several hours playing noughts and crosses and word games, till they were sick to death of them. Later on they had some supper, then started talking about their predicament.
That man said we'd come at an awkward time. Why? Are they expecting some smuggled goods tonight?
Oh, if only we weren't locked in this cave. We might have spied on them and seen what they were up to and got word to the police.
Well, we can't now.
If Mr Penruthlan is mixed up in this affair, he'll not be best pleased to be told to fetch the police to look for us. It's just the one night he won't want the police about.
I think you're wrong. I think he'd be delighted to have the police looking for lost children and not poking their noses into his affairs.
I hadn't thought of that.
It's nearly 11 o'clock. I vote we try and go to sleep.
Good idea. Where's Timmy?
He's gone over to the door.
What is it, Timmy? Julian, I believe someone is at the door.
Be quiet for a moment and listen. There! Do you hear that scrabbling outside the door? Who's there? I can hear you. Who is it?
It's me, Jan.
Jan! Gosh, is it really you?
Yes.
Be quiet, Timmy. Jan, have you got a light?
Now it's dark in here. Can I come to you?
Yes, of course. Listen, Jan, do you know how to unlock and unbolt a door?
Yes. Are you locked in?
Yes, but the key may be in the lock. Feel and see. Feel for bolts, too. Slide them back and turn the key.
I found one bolt and another one. They're open. I can feel the key, but it's so stiff I can't turn it.
Jan, listen to me. Take the key out of the lock and slide it under the door. Do you hear me?
Yes, I heard.
Well done, Jan. I've got it. Now, here goes.
Oh, yes!
Goodness.
Let's get out of here, quick! That man may be back at any minute.
Hang on a second. I'll bolt and lock the door and take the key with us. Now, if he comes back, he won't even know we're gone.
Where shall we go now?
It would be madness to go back up the passage to the old house. There's sure to be some signalling going on, and we shall be caught again.
That passage there goes down to the beach. I went down it when I was looking for you. There's nobody on the beach.
Let's go down there then. Once we feel we're out of danger, we can plan what's best to do.
They went down the passage and at last came out into the open air. The stars were shining in the sky and gave a fair light after the darkness of the passage. Julian took a quick look at the cliff behind them. It was very steep. They certainly couldn't climb it in the dark. They were discussing what to do when Jan spoke up.
I'll take you back by the Wrecker's Way.
Of course. You said you knew the Wrecker's Way. Lead on, Jan. You're a marvel.
We go up this path first. It's not far.
It's pretty steep.
We've got to squeeze past this big rock.
We'll follow you.
Now we are in the Wrecker's Way.
Nobody could have ever guessed there was a way into the cliffs behind that rock.
Somebody's coming. Go out past the rock again. There's a little cave we can hide in. Here it is.
Quiet, everyone. Here they come. 2 of them. Sure, that's Mr. Penruthlan. See how enormous he is.
Look out to sea. Boat coming. No lights. He'll be on the rocks.
Look, the biggest of the men has got into a rowing boat. He's rowing out to the motorboat to get the smuggled goods, I bet.
They watched as the rowing boat disappeared in the darkness beyond the rocks, then saw the second man going down to the beach. This gave them the perfect chance to escape. They went to the great rock and squeezed behind it into Wrecker's Way. Then, Jan leading, they went up the secret passage. They went on and on. The passage was fairly straight and had probably been the bed of an underground stream at some time.
We've walked at least a mile. Shall we be back soon, Jan?
Yes.
Where does the Wrecker's Way come out?
In a shed at Tremanham Farm.
Goodness! So it's very nice and handy for Mr. Penruthlan. Impossible for anyone to find out.
Except us. There's not much we don't know about Mr. Penruthlan.
We're there. Tremanham Farm. Look above your heads.
A trapdoor. And it's open. Someone came down here tonight.
And we know who. Mr. Penruthlan and his friend. Where does the trapdoor lead to, Jan?
Into a corner of the machine shed. When the trapdoor is shut, it's covered with sacks of corn.
Right. Let's go up the ladder, everyone.
Oh, Dick!
Careful, George.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll shut the trapdoor and pile sacks and boxes on top of it. Then, when the men come up, they'll find themselves trapped. If we can get the police in time, they'll be able to catch them easily.
Good idea.
They shut the big trapdoor and piled sacks and crates on top. Now nobody could open it from underneath. As they left the shed and made their way to the farmhouse, a sharp whisper, "Here, I'm here," made them stop suddenly. Julian couldn't see who it was in the dark, and he quickly flashed his torch on the man. It was the governor, grim-faced as ever. He flinched as the light fell on his face, stepped back, and disappeared round a corner. As they trooped in through the kitchen door, Mrs. Penruthlan leapt up from her chair and ran to them.
Oh, where have you been? The men in the barns are out looking for you, and Mr. Penruthlan's not home either.
We're all safe. We're sorry you've been upset.
But where have you been? And where is Mr. Penruthlan?
Well, we think there's some smuggling going on around here. We went to explore the old tower and found a secret passage. When we were in the passage, we came across a hidden room and somebody locked us in it.
How did you get out?
Jan let us out.
Jan?
We went on down the passage and came to a cove. Well, I don't know how to say this, but...
We saw Mr. Penruthlan in the cove.
You saw him in the cove? What was he doing?
We think he must be one of the smugglers.
You wicked boy! Saying things like that about Mr. Penruthlan, who's the straightest, honestest, most God-fearing man who ever lived.
I'm very sorry to have made you so angry.
I should think I am angry. That wasn't him in Wrecker's Cove, I know it wasn't. I only wish I knew where he was.
He's down Wrecker's Way. We put the trapdoor down over him.
Down Wrecker's Way?
Yes, we came up that way from the beach. It comes up in a corner of the machine shed. We shut the trapdoor and piled things on it. Mr. Penruthlan can't get out.
I don't believe it. It's a bad dream. I know who that is. Mr. Penruthlan, you've come walking in. I said you would.
What are these children up for?
Julian, he's talking normally.
Oh, Mr. Penruthlan, these children said you were a smuggler. They said they'd seen you in Wrecker's Cove and they...
What's all this?
Well, we've been exploring that tower and finding out a bit about smugglers, and we really thought we recognised you in Wrecker's Cove, and we thought we trapped you and your friend by shutting the trapdoor.
Now, this is important. Forget all this about thinking I'm a smuggler. I'm working with the police. What's this about the trapdoor? Did you really trap those men?
Yes, sir. If you want to catch those fellows, send for the police and we'll do it. We've only got to wait beside the trapdoor till the smugglers come.
Right. Come along, you two boys. Hurry.
Julian and Dick followed Mr. Penruthlan to the machine shed and looked at the trapdoor. It was open. The sacks and boxes the children had dragged over it were scattered to one side. Mr. Penruthlan made a very angry noise and flung the trapdoor shut. Silently, he led the way back to the farmhouse. Totally exhausted, everyone went to bed. The two boys flopped on their beds and were asleep in half a second. They didn't even stir when the Barneys' wagons came trundling in the yard to be packed with their things. Julian awoke at last. He lay and thought for a while. If only they knew who had opened that trapdoor. Who could it be? And then something clicked in his mind, and he knew. Of course! The governor standing in the shadows and his whispered message, "Here, I'm here." Julian leapt off the bed, shook Dick, and they both rushed downstairs to find Mr. Penruthlan, who was standing watching the Barneys getting ready to go.
I've remembered something important to tell you.
What is it?
I think the man we want is the governor.
Whatever makes you think that?
The Barneys often come to play here, and nothing could be easier for the governor to arrange for the smuggling to take place then. The Wrecker's Way entrance is in a shed near the big barn.
But why the governor?
Last night, when we were coming back, he was waiting in the dark, for the smugglers, I'm sure. He must have heard us and thought we were the men. When they didn't come, he must have gone to the trapdoor, found it shut, and opened it. Waited till the men came and handed him the goods. Now he's got them hidden somewhere in those wagons.
Oh, why didn't you tell me last night? We may be too late now. I'll have to get the police to search those wagons. But if I try to stop the Barneys going now, the governor will suspect something and go off at once.
Do you know what they're smuggling?
Yes. Dangerous drugs. The parcel wouldn't need to be very big.
If it's a small parcel, it could be easily hidden. The governor wouldn't have it on him, would he?
No. He would be afraid of being searched.
Oh, hello, boys. You let us a fine dance last night. Clopper was right worried about you.
Gosh, you didn't carry Clopper's head all over the hills last night, did you?
No, I left it with the governor.
Did you? I'll take it.
Hey, bring the horse's head back at once.
Now, what's got into him? Why does he want to rush off with Clopper's head for?
Mr. Penruthlan, why does the governor always have someone in charge of Clopper's head? Maybe he hides something precious in there. Quick, let's go and see.
At that moment, Dick appeared again, still holding Clopper's head, with Sid and the governor hard on his heels. He panted up to Mr. Penruthlan and thrust the head in his hands. The governor raced up and tried to snatch Clopper away from the farmer.
You leave that horse alone. It's my property. Is it? Well, let me just have a feel inside. What's this? A little secret place with a false bottom. How do I get it open, governor? Now, will you tell me, or do I smash Clopper up to find it?
No, don't smash him. What's up, Governor? We never knew there was a secret about Clopper.
There isn't. I found the trick. Well, what have we here? What's in this neat white packet, eh, governor? Is it one of the many packets of drugs you've handled round this coast? Was it because of this secret of yours you told Sid never to let Clopper out of his sight?
Governor, you made me guard your horrible drugs, not Clopper. To think I've been helping you all this time, helping a man who's only fit for prison.
Lock the governor up in a small barn. Dan, you get the police. As for you, Barneys, you've lost your governor. But it's good riddance, I'll tell you that.
Mr. Binks and I aren't going to use Clopper anymore. He'll bring us bad luck. We'll get a donkey instead, and work up a new act.
Right, I'll take charge of old Clopper.
Right, well, we'll be off now then. Thanks for everything, Mr. Penruthlan. So long!
See you again when you're next by here. You can have my barn any time, Sid.
Bye.
Well, that's all finished up. Dick, I thought you'd gone mad when you went off with old Clopper's head.
It was a bit of a brainwave. Came over me all of a sudden.
Come in. I'm getting breakfast. Sit down, all of you.
Julian, you idiot. Look, he sat Clopper at the table. Mr. Penruthlan, what are you going to do with him?
Well, I'm going to give him away to friends of mine.
Lucky friends. Do they know how to work the front and back legs, sir?
Oh, yes, they know fine. There's only one thing they don't know, though.
What's that?
Well, they don't know how to... How do I do the zip?
Now, Mr. Penruthlan, behave yourself. Why don't you say straight out that you're giving Clopper to Julian and Dick?
Gosh, are you really? Thank you very much.
Well, you got me what I wanted, so it's only fair I should give you what you wanted. Clopper's a funny one. See him looking at us now.
He winked. I saw him wink.
Where you did it?
Well, it wouldn't be surprising if he did wink. He's really had a most exciting time.